Aga Ceann Comhairle. Taoiseach, once more, you're dragging us back to this absurd technical groups issue. It's today's motion. You're dragging us back. And Taoiseach, bombs are raining down in a genocidal bombardment on children in Gaza. The people of Ukraine are fighting for their country. We're seeing democracy under threat across the globe. In Belarus, in Hungary, we're seeing it in Turkey. We're seeing grim new milestones for global warming. We're seeing a housing crisis that is deepening here at home. Fears growing about the impact of Trump's tariffs. Taoiseach, these are the pressing issues that deserve all our attention. Instead, your government insists on continuing to push through this proposed amendment to standing orders, a desperate distraction. You're seeking to confuse the issue. You talk about speaking rights. But Taoiseach, we all know what's at issue here. This is a simple matter. You cannot be in government and in opposition at the same time. And it's at precisely this time that we need to stand firm and resolute in our defence of democratic values in this House and of our constitutional function as members of Dáil Éireann. Article 28.4.1 of our Constitution, Taoiseach, provides that the government shall be responsible to Dáil Éireann, and that's why our standing orders provide for leaders' questions. It's the set-piece exchange every week where we in opposition, as opposition leaders, get to hold you and your government to account. And it matters for our communities that the lines are clear in a democracy, that we can assign responsibility when things go wrong. And since we took our seats in this Dáil, we have sought accountability from you for many issues. For example, statements you and your ministers made during the general election campaign, when you exaggerated how many houses would be built. On behalf of the people we represent, we have to hold you to account on those claims and on so much more. Massive delays in children seeking assessments of need, failures to provide school places for children with additional needs, glaring absence of climate policies. It's our constitutional duty to represent our communities and hold government to account. And that's why it matters when we see your continued attempts to create a sham opposition, a contrivance, purely to placate the Lowry lobby. To describe Lowry Group as wolves in sheep's clothing would give them too much credit, but they are certainly a very poor tribute act, Taoiseach, a poor imitation of those of us who are genuinely in opposition, who are genuinely taking our constitutional duty seriously. Taoiseach, you know, as everyone knows, that the manufactured, nonsensical other members' questions device is really being introduced to give the Lowry lads and Deputy Toole special time to tell the government how well you're doing. You know it, everyone in the country knows it. This is the group that's undertaken to support your government in good times and bad. The Ceann Comhairle has ruled that they are not in opposition. Let's respect the Ceann Comhairle's ruling. Let's give up this farce.
Thank you, Deputy.
Let's give up this farce. How can you continue to justify this? You can't be in government and opposition at the same time.
Let's see what's being proposed. Private members' business still lasts for 120 minutes. No change. Sponsor time, 40 minutes. No change. Sinn Féin time remains exactly as it was in the last Dáil. What's interesting is each other opposition grouping gains time in this Dáil under this proposal as compared to the last time out. And I can recall a time when this Dáil, when the Labour had a calamitous general election result, that we facilitated reducing the threshold to allow the Labour Party speaking rights at the time. Easily forgotten, Deputy, by you and your members. There is no change in terms of ministers of state, in terms of responding to the Dáil. In other words, absolutely no change in terms of accountability. Sorry, again, you're interrupting. No change in accountability of this government to the Dáil as compared to the last Dáil. Absolutely no change. And what is farcical, Deputy, what is farcical is the extraordinary manufactured political row, wholly disproportionate.
Deputies.
Wholly disproportionate to the issues at stake. In other words, the changes are very modest. It doesn't in any shape just a level of manufactured and feigned outrage that we're witnessing on the opposition side, and that's what we are. And I agree with you, Deputy. There are far more substantive and profound issues facing this country that you should now be getting on with. And that does relate to issues like housing and disability services. And it does relate to perhaps what will be the most significant and profound economic winds blowing in our direction that we've seen for quite some time. And that's what this Dáil and this Oireachtas needs to focus on. And we also need to focus, yes, on the wars that are raging Europe and in the Middle East, with appalling and savage and loss of life and slaughter of people. But are we seriously suggesting that giving 8 minutes a day to allow backbench TDs is such a profound change in the standing orders that it necessitates the
Deputies. Thank you, Deputy Batchik. Deputy Batchik. Well, Taoiseach, do you wish to continue? If we're going, well then, Deputy, there's a minute, Deputy Batchik. It's not your time yet. It's the Taoiseach has a minute left.
I make the point that the level of change here is so minuscule when you look at it. 60, and by the way, 60 TDs, they get one chance a year to participate in this format. And that's exciting everybody. One opportunity for a backbench TD to question me or question the Taoiseach of today, and you're all up in high dough. You're all in feigned outrage. And I say this much, one final point. Government, somebody, when an election happens, there actually is a fundamental obligation to form a government, which has been completely lost sight of here. And the important, again, keep shouting, yeah.
Deputies, all you're doing is running down the clock.
I can recall governments that were formed with the support of 3 independent TDs. No one at the time, nobody at the time, again, it is noteworthy that people do not, on the opposite side, do not want to hear a response to the questions being tabled. We have afforded them the right to say, but it's complete shut down, because you don't want you shut down the debate, you don't want the points made. No opposition TD ever lost any rights to this date. And this has been proved by senior council opinion, multiple senior council opinions at this stage, in terms of previous standing orders in respect of opposing.
Deputy Batchik, to respond, please.
Well, Taoiseach, as we all know, the Ceann Comhairle ruled on the 3rd of February that the Lowry grouping are not in opposition. Let's respect that ruling. Let's respect that ruling. The only manufacturing going on is you seeking to manufacture a sham opposition, pretending that this is about speaking rights for government backbenchers. You know it's not. Everyone in the country knows it's not. Because like all government backbenchers, including those in the Lowry Group, have privileged access to government ministers, and they already have speaking time. And I feel sorry for Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael backbenchers. There's very few who've been out defending the indefensible on the airwaves, because they know they have speaking time already. They know they have it in QPL, they know they have it in Taoiseach's questions. And your proposal today is going to make them lose out too. Your backbenchers won't be able to dominate Taoiseach's questions any longer, because you've used this row to give yourself Wednesday afternoons off, slashing that slot to carve out time for the Lowry gang. So, Taoiseach, this is the indefensible. It is manufacturing a sham opposition. We all know what this is really about.
Deputy.
You acknowledged yourself that Michael Lowry is in government when you promised the public that he would not be in government to do any corruption. So what is this all about? What is this all about?
Thank you.
What is the hold that he and his group have on you? That's what people want to know about.